Geton has absolutely disappeared. He's eager to get this race underway.
As Top Tom, I actually want to catch him as we come into it because he really blew up the track so fast. And I'm hopefully going to see the exact same thing again. But then for the second time then here in the Rwagnation League at Hungary. Okay. There we go. We are away here. What a beautiful start there it looks like from Samidia. He's going to be down in P6, but he's going to be trying to climb himself up there. Brownie's had an even better start. He's right on the back of Danico. This is surely going to be ascending towards turn 1. He's going to be really tight to it, but they keep it all together just about. Brownie up to P3. Side by side still with Danico, but Danico might be able to favour this one out as he comes through. There's a lot of carnage going on at the back of the grid. Florian's been sent off to the gravel. Safso's going to make his move around him as well if he can. This is going to be a little bit of an awkward situation for Yolta, who's down to P18. He got himself up 3 places in the last one. He's got himself up 3 places again in this one. He's burning a lot of his DRS because he smells blood on Hugo's. Lunge down the inside and towards turn 1. Bit of a side-by-side as well. They'll come out through the exit. No DRS available because we are only on lap 2, but he's going to be trying his absolute hardest to get the exit he needed, but he couldn't quite get it. Coming round the outside though here, if he can keep himself alongside, which he just cannot, he may have had a chance to go for a manoeuvre. 2 people in the pits, that is Poppy and Florian. Really use any ERS there. No contestation there from Rainbow. Big lock up there. Bit of a... I'll tell you something. That was a good catch, but all that hard work and effort has just gone to waste because he's not going to get the move unless he goes again down the inside here. They are going to go side by side. Rainbow does not want this. He knows how much you need to stay with that train, and they are very much out of it. They'll fight here. This is going to be Hugo's going for a send around the outside. This is not the line you want to take, but he's done it. Yolta opted to back out of that, and now he's going to have a conversation with his teammate. ERS is in full go for. Round the outside towards turn 1 then. Yolta's going to have to hold it tight to line. There's a bit of contact between the 2 of them, and I think it's going to be safe and clean. A bit of a back-end step out there for Yonti, but he has got the move done. Yolta will have to fall to P10, and this is... Well, I say that, but he's going to go around the outside then. How did he manage that one? He might actually be able to hold Yonti back.
Oh, he nearly managed it.
Oh, he's gone for a send. That's a big lunge into the corner. He's just about forced Higgsy off the track there. Florian's coming through as well. He's actually got himself ahead of Higgsy. He's actually trying to get alongside Yolta. Yolta's going to have to really defend this because he hasn't really got the toe he needs as we come onto the home straight from Vania. 8/10 is the gap. Oh, Yolta. Sorry, Yolta's got for a move down the inside here. There's a bit of contact between him and Vania that's going to allow Florian to get involved in this mix. It's 3 wide coming in towards turn 2. He backs out of it. Yolta's going around the outside. Vania's going to defend down the inside. Florian's trying to get inside on anybody. He cannot get either. Yolta is through on Vania. Florian knows he has to hurry up and get Vania, so he's going to lunge in towards this corner, and he's just forcing Vania off track. Somehow they both keep themselves within the limits, but Vania defends. Florian is stuck and Yolta is free.
Gave each other enough space, and that's not allowed Yolta to just disappear in the distance, and Vanya has now fallen outside the DRS zone.
Oh, Florian's going to go for a lunge here. He knows how much he has to. That's a lunge. He's going to go right off to the outside of the track. Vanya read that, backs out and says go for it. Is it actually beneficial for you here? Because he's going down the inside there of Vanya. Bit of a good exit there from him, but Vanya's going to be still stuck on the inside, so he's gone from trying to attack Florian to suddenly having to defend against Higgsy. Brownie's on the inside of both of them. He might be able to get both of these drivers in just 2 corners. He's trying to get around the outside of Higgsy. Higgsy's just holding it within the limits and keeping the gap that he needed to. Brownie is ahead of Higgsy, but Vanya now. Of ERS available to Brownie here as he gets right onto the back of Vanya. Switches down the inside. And there he goes, right on through into the manoeuvre. Vanya's trying to stick it back through there with him, but can't quite keep it.
Like, once you're under that 10%, you just get no power really from deploying your DRS. So...
well, race is over because Geton and Zones have gone P1, P2. Danico's going to cross the line there in P3, but Hugo's, due to his consistency, will snatch that podium away. Some idiot who can't quite get the gap he needed to on Hugo's. He's going to come across the line in P5. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Belgian GP here in the Rwagnation League. It's Ben Raggy McConnell, and joining me as always, the man himself, Mr. Mark Horn Badger Meiklejohn. How you doing?
I'm really well. You know, this Horn Badger actually showed up. The previous one, I don't know what you were doing with him. Just missing that F2s, but
Having my
he's back.
wicked way. What can I say? Gotta get out of the way. That's all I can do, isn't it, really? No, but look, we are here at Spa. We saw in the F2s it was absolutely chaos. And this is the circuit they're going to be doing again in the F1 cars. 4.3 miles long, 19 turns in total with 2 DRS zones, tons of elevation changes. A majority of the track is actually spent at really high speeds. So expect to be seeing a lot of contesting for positions, shall we say. And this is how the championship looks as follows. We've had it chop and change a few times. Geton is now, though, your current championship leader. Only by 3 points, though, because Zones is 3 points behind there in P2, 217. Somebody at P3, Brownie P4, Hugo's P5, and sort of getting a little bit closer there. As you can see, Vexer, Danica, Brownie are all around about the same sort of points, maybe a couple away. It's Yolta that's currently holding down the best of the rest there in P11 with 36 points. Yonti on the back of him, only 6 points away there in P12. You got Florian P13, 27, and then it's starting to get to the lower end of the field. Obviously, a couple of people have new joiners, so they've not quite had chance to get some good point scoring positions in. McLaren, though, are your constructors leaders. They've got 290 to their name, with Williams there in P2 with 253, Mercedes 227. So there's still lots to gain necessarily from this. It's definitely not over yet. But now we're going to see a hot lap on how to do this track properly, shall we say. As we have Yonti here, I have also muted the audio. There you go. As you're coming towards turn 1, then you have to make sure it is nice and tidy. You can see he has had a pretty good exit there. And this is him now coming all the way down in the run up towards Rouge Radion. You have to get nicely over the curb on the left hand side. As you come up the hill, then you got to click the inside curb again and get the run over to the left quite nice too. This is the bit where we're going to be seeing majority of the overtakes. DRS wing wide open, all in the toe, charging all the way up towards Lake Hume. You want to be right on the left hand side as you come into the breakers. Right when you see the P sign on the right side and get right down the gears. And then just clip both apexes quite nicely. Don't get too much momentum on the exit because you need to turn right for this. Don't run out wide. You will invalidate if you're doing it in quali. You will get penalties if you do it in a race. As you come into Ravage, the long, slow right-hander. Get the exit quite nicely as you come into the corner with no name. It has been said. As you come now down in towards probably the hardest corner on this circuit, Pure. This is one where you want to carry as much momentum as you can through here, and as your tyres start to drip off throughout the race, it's going to become more and more of a problem for you later on. Coming now into the slow, I call it slow, it's slower than the rest of the corners on the circuit, and the slow right-left. And now into Stavolo. This here is probably the second most important corner, because from here on out, you're flat out, right up towards the bus stop chicane. So here, don't run too wide, you will hit the wall, I promise you, it will kill you. As you come into one of the most famous corners on this on the circuit, and even in F1, Blanchimont, the left here, you've got to get the run nicely up towards the bus stop chicane. You need to brake right on the 100-meter board here to get just perfectly slowed down. Clip the inside curve quite nicely, pit the left-hander quite nicely too, and then all the way home and run all the way up towards the home straight to then do your lap once more. Now, we have got a couple of moments delay. Bear with us just whilst we get this sorted. It shouldn't take any more than literally just a few seconds. Yeah, just waiting to get the other Mercedes driver in here. And then once he's in, we can get cracking. But Badger, this is a fantastic circuit. We talked about this plenty of times. But I actually want to see if you can chuck in a really solid and accurate prediction. What you got for me?
To be honest, it's hard to go anywhere other than Zones and Get Owned at the front, really. We've had some surprises, but those two consistently show that, you know, they're right now the class of the field. So, honestly, and I do think that Zones will probably pip this, but I think Get Owned is going to probably be about half a tenth behind in P2. And we'll see, but I would quite like if Vexit or Sipos could get up there on P3 and really challenge the front two. Sipos has proven to be quite a speedy driver. It just doesn't seem to be connecting it all up during when he needs it. And Vexit, we know how fast the man can be. Again, he just doesn't seem to be able to do it race after race, lap after lap. So it'd be good to see one of those two sealing that third spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've overlooked Geton a few times, and every time I've overlooked him, he's made me look a fool. And I'm glad about that, to be honest, because it's actually good to see him back to the where he was at the start of the season. He did have a fair few issues when it came down to his consistency. He had a fair few issues when it came down to his overall pace, but then it came to Hungary in particular, which was the track that he really showed how good he really is. And it was fantastic to see. I'm really glad that we got to see that from him. But we are now in the qualifying session then for the Belgium GP. Chat, we would like to hear from you. What are your 1, 2, 3 predictions for the end of qualifying? Who's getting pole, who's getting second, and who's getting third? Let us know in the chat, and I will read them out on the stream, and we can see who has what. Who's getting the accurate prediction this week? I do want to say, if I was to check out my prediction, I actually think Geton for pole. Zones for P2, but I actually think Some Idiot. I think Some Idiot has really demonstrated he's got more than just race pace now. He's also got quality pace, and this seems to be a track that he's actually naturally really good at.
Yeah, again, Geton's definitely Some Idiot has definitely shown over especially the last few races that his qualifying is just getting better and better. He's still not got that extra that Zones and Get On seem to have, but he is definitely proving to be top 5 material, which is great because again he usually has much better races than he does qualifying sessions, which really does set him up for having a good race.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I do want to see the Renault boys return back to their former glory like they have had in the past. Some fantastic races. They've just not always had the best of luck. Brownie, for example, look at him in Hungary. He looked really good for a nice podium position. He just got caught up in a fight, in Sipas's spin, and that was it. His race was immediately just shot into the ground. There was not a lot he could do. So it is a bit of a sad time there for Brownie, but, that's racing. That's what you're going to see. And we have now got some predictions in the chat. So we'll have a quick read as to who we've got. So Tiger Jr. says, Geton for pole, Zones for P2, Some Idiot for P3. So he's in agreement with me. I think that's the right decision to make. Just Chillin says Zones P1, Geton P2, Top Tom P3. So interesting. I have been told Top Tom did swap to a load cell brake system 2 hours ago. Now, I can talk from experience. That is quite a dramatic change. So if he isn't used to it or has never done it before, I'm not expecting him to do well here at all. It is really difficult to adapt to initially, but give it about a week or two and you will be feeling pretty confident. But an hour ago, 2 hours ago, sorry, that's too short a window for me.
Yeah, that's definitely not something you want to do right before a race. So unless his old pedals have busted and he kind of had no choice, otherwise you would expect to do that on the Sunday when you've got a week to practice. That's going to be a real challenge for him.
Yeah. Oh, somebody with a big tank slapper there coming through turn 1. That is somewhere that you need to get. I mean, I would say turn 1 is the most important corner on the circuit, purely because you spend the rest of the. Zones has got disqualified for blocking the pit lane.
Well, that throws both our predictions in the bin.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I'm amazed. I mean, it looked like he was on the corner exit. Pit exit. Did he just not accelerate? Were his pedals not working? Has he got it? There's just so many questions and not enough answers. So many reasons he could have potentially had a DQ. But the one thing that is here and firm is that his DQ is there in P18. So he's going to have a last to first challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll see what the stewards say. If this is deemed to be the game being a bit crazy, then we might end up having a rehost or something, but we'll let the stewards decide that. That's now made Get On to have a very easy trip. So would you like to have a revised 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, I think I do. I'm sticking with Get On for pole. P2 though, I do think Some Idiot, and then P3, I think Vexit, honestly. I think Vexit is a very, very... Oh, we're having a restart. We are in fact having a restart.
No problems, that's kind of expected, I guess.
Yep. At least it's been called nice and early before everyone starts properly.
Yeah.
Chopping
Although
it
some
all
of it
up.
would have got pole, if we just go by the results as is.
Yeah, I guess. Well, we had a little bit of a teaser. It's not quite yet got ourselves properly started, so bear with me. We're just going to quickly get this rehosted and go through, but it shouldn't take too long at all, so we can actually continue yapping a little bit about the GP that we're about to see. So I didn't quite catch the weather, but I've got a feeling it was going to be dry all weekend. So if that is going to be the case, then we do need to sort of think about the strategies here. Are we going to see a one-stop? Is it too easy, too hard to do one-stop? So many solutions that these guys have got to think about.
Yeah, around here, it's such a long lap time that you most likely, if you can get away with doing, a one-stop, and you need to be on the right tire at the right time. So if you think, oh, I'll put on the softs for 2 laps or so, and then switch over, yada yada, it's difficult to make up the time. And again, it's to be honest, it is quite a because it's such a fast track as well. You do kind of spend a lot of time. It seems that you're spending a lot more time in the pits because of how fast everyone else is going around the circuit. So it's always something that you probably don't want to leave up to chance. If you can manage the one stop and then just stay out and stay flat on the tires, that would be the ideal solution. But obviously, there is always a little bit of management that you need to do to get everything working the way it should and get the lap times that you need to put in.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to get the drivers back into the lobby. In fact, what we will do, we will just play a little bit of music for a couple of minutes whilst we quickly get this set up and ready to go. Bear with us just a few minutes. We will get this back up and underway in just a second. Thank you. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the delay. We did, of course, have some issues. It was that Zones, I believe, was unfairly given that penalty. So yeah, of course we are going to be. We had to rehost it, but I can tell you now, I know the weather. That's the bit. So it is dry. That's the one thing we're going to be seeing. So completely dry throughout the entirety of the weekend. Quality is going to be completely dry. Race is going to be completely dry. So strategy is going to be probably the most important factor here. With this being a track that it is, where majority of it is spent at really high speeds. The tow and the train is massively important. You cannot afford to get out of it in any way, shape, or form. So now that we know Zones is going to be here to stay, what's your 1, 2, 3? Are we sticking with what it was before?
I'm sticking with it. I think get on Zones and then Fexit.
All right. I'm get on Zones and some idiot. I'm sticking with mine. I think it was the right call, right decision. We should be hopefully. And some idiot was rapid in the one lap he did earlier. I think what was it, a 41? I believe he did, like a low 41.
It was 41, yeah. It was. I think it was a. Ooh, no, I don't want to think it. I don't have the sheet anymore, so I'm not gonna guess just in case I like it doesn't put that time in again. I'm just gonna leave it.
Make him look down. I mean, that's the thing, fair play to him. Obviously, it's not entirely something we can control, and he did do his best. But we gotta try our best to make sure everybody's got the best opportunity, and Codemasters. Hopefully, in time they will get us to a point where we don't have to worry about that anymore. So here we go. People going out onto the track. They're not waiting around at all. Somebody is the first to get out there. He wants to get another time on the board as quick as possibly available. We'll see what he can do.
Yep, he was also first out last time, so he's just clearly very eager to get going, which is good to see. And if he's had a nice clear track last time to put his lap in, so I think he's hoping for the same. He can just focus on himself, focus on what he needs to do, get the tyres to where he needs them to be, and then just nail it corner after corner. Don't need to think about anyone in front of him, because realistically, unless someone's coming out of the pits, you shouldn't need to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Still a fair few people still in the pits, actually. I can tell you that Rainbow does have a quali ban, so he will not be getting a time on the board. He still has the ability to do an installation lap if he should want to. He's not allowed to provide the tow to his teammate in that time, so don't expect to see that. Now, actually, talking of tow, we have seen in previous races where many people have actually gone and given each other the tow. Yonti doesn't have his teammate here today because he's currently doing an endurance race, so Yonti's going to have to do it all on his lonesome. Obviously, with Rainbow getting a quality ban means he will not be able to give his teammate the toe, so Vex is also going to have to do his all on his lonesome. Whereas the Williams boys have in the past really done a good job of working together. And in fact, if you look at it now, you can actually see Hugo's is coming out of the pit lane just in time to give Samidia the toe. So keep an eye out now as we come up towards Radion. There is Hugo's. Oh, he's had a really slow run here. I'm not sure if he's actually going to be... He's going to be a hindrance here more than an actual help. Because as we get up Radion, Hugo's is going to be too slow to assist him, I think. Might get a little bit, but this is nowhere near enough. And I may actually eat my words. I may actually have to eat my words. This is perfect almost. A little bit more could have been gained there, but still fantastic for Samidia. But he has missed the apex. That's a big problem for him. That's compromised him on the left-hander. That's a big mistake and a half. And yeah, I don't think this is going to be the best lap he can achieve. I think he's going to definitely improve by a few tenths there.
Yeah, it's definitely something left on the table, which, you know, banker lap, so that's acceptable. He just needs to make sure that the rest of this lap is really neat and tidy, and he's back end nearly stepped out there, which, you know, is liable to do in that corner, which if he managed to maintain it and hold it, and he just needs to keep the rest of it, as I say, quite neat and tidy, and then he should still put in a fairly decent lap time. But yeah, you're right, the toe here is going to be very important, but I'm sticking with Exit despite the fact he has no toe, for the simple reason of it's kind of also very easy to just start your hot lap immediately as someone else is starting there, so you can, you know, take the toe off them regardless. So I do think that will be Vexit's plan, just to get the toe off the straight, and we'll just see as some idiots now coming around the corner what he's able to do.
Oh.
141.3. Yeah, that's pretty decent lap time.
Yeah. You know, think what you want about Mr. Samidia, whatever his name is. Get it? Because Samidia. Anyway, you can think what you want about him. He's still chucks in crazy good lap times. Yolta has done a 41.6, and actually I was about to talk about Renault, because Renault are a team that will also do the slipstream to each other. Oh,
41 flat.
You'd love to see it. Things you love to see.
Excellent.
See, this is better now. Look at the way that Samidia is giving Hugo's the toe here. He's actually very much giving it all the way down into the braking zone. Although, again, actually much better there from Hugo's. He really did keep it together. So Hugo's might actually jump his teammate and get himself up to what is currently P2. But realistically, when more and more people get times on the board, that should be a bit of a drop there. But I actually wanted to talk about Brownie, because Brownie is somebody who works really well with Yolta. Yolta's actually been a fantastic teammate to Brownie, and it has really paid off for them in the past, especially if you look at likes of Paul Ricard, for example, where the long straight is very long, and that does allow for the toe to be incredibly impactful, and you know they've rehearsed it time and time again, so it does allow Brownie to gain a lot of time. However, this isn't a track that I've seen Brownie particularly do well in. He has in times had really good runs, but I've seen him have less good times than the best times, you know what I mean, here.
Yeah, and it's honestly, everyone's got kind of tracks that they prefer, and this does seem to be one that Brownie's had more than his fair share of incidents, so we'll have to wait and see if he's able to kind of lift that curse today.
Well, Hugo's
there just behind his teammate.
Yeah. And then Copy came across the line. He did also get a toe from his teammate, Danico, who did invalidate last lap. But Copy's only able to get in a 41.7. I mean, here's the crazy thing about it. I'm using the word only. I'm saying he's only been able to get himself that kind of lap time on. That's still an insane lap time. A 41 anything is really fast. Like, if I get into the 43s, I'm happy. I'm like, yes, nailed a really good lap in there. Fantastic. He's chucking... I mean, Zones has broken the 40s. He's a 40.986. This is insane.
Yep, and this is what I was saying with Zones. He just seems to, especially in qualifying, he just seems to have that little something. And this is a really great battle with Zones and Get On, because we've seen... You know, the start of the season, Get On just really took off, and then Zones came into the zone and really started fighting back, and he took that championship lead. And that, whether that was motivation for Get Owned or not, I don't know, but Get Owned has really seemed to step up his game, and those two very much disappear in the distance. You know, it's like 2016 the Mercedes, where Rosberg and Hamilton are just gone by turn 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, staying in that trend is so important in this track to be able to secure big positions, big points. But then again, you look at last week, Ghetto and Samidia, they weren't, sorry, not Samidia, Ghetto and Zones, they weren't actually really pushing initially because they didn't exactly feel as though they had to. Now, obviously, Hungary and Spa are two very different circuits. It's much harder to overtake on Hungary than it is here in Spa. But the same sort of principle applies. Sometimes being the chasing car, where you can manage the driver ahead of you by the amount of pressure that you apply to them, is actually the best place for you to be. So don't necessarily think that they're just going to put their foot down and bolt away. Then again, with it being so easy to overtake on the circuit, with the toe being so strong here, they may be a bit worried about people just going for a move anyway.
Yeah, because realistically, dirty air isn't much of a thing in this game, so it is much easier in the game to stay right on someone's gearbox without really getting too much of a hindrance from it. So if you can break that toe and just build up a gap, then you're kind of securing yourself a good bit of safety, because the driver behind has to use all the exact same tools that you're using in front. They're not getting any benefit from DRS or from slipstream, so it would be very beneficial if you can break it. But if not, as you say, it's not actually that bad being the driver behind.
Yeah, exactly. Rainbow retiring is just for him to serve his qualifying ban. He obviously hasn't done an installation of that, but he should still have everything set up ready to go for the race, no problems. So, Vexit, your man that you've put in P3 is currently on a tear. He's going to do a solo mission here. No tow from anybody. He didn't get any tow as we came all the way up Orange Radion and on the Camel Straight. Bit of a deep move there. Bit too deep, but then again, it's one of those sort of circuits where it's about the exit, because again, even through here, you don't want to run too wide, and a lot of people do tend to do so, especially as you come into the race. It's quite easy to, in fact, make mistakes there and potentially even go off into the wall, as CPOS Patrick going to be the next person to get a lap time on the board.
It seemed like Vex. Oh, and he's invalidated. I was just about to say, it seemed like he basically didn't tap the brake at all going into towards Radion. Oh my
Patrick,
Lord.
Hello. I mean, this guy is very new to RNL. I think this is the third race I've seen him in. Last race he looked really good, but he looked really uncomfortable on the back end. And the one thing you could count on him for was the fact that his qualifying pace, or at least his one lap pace, was very, very good. And I didn't realize it was that good. A 140.869. We may have just completely overlooked him.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't overlook. I put him and Vexit and P3 together. I couldn't quite decide. So, yeah, that's if he can pull out a pole, then that's insane. But that is a very, very good lap time. We know just how good Zones is in the qualifying, and you know, CPOS has managed to be a full 10th in front. So. Yeah, that's laying down a really good marker for this qualifying session. Again, as we've said, in the races he's had a little bit less fortune go his way, shall we say. So it would be impressive if he would be able to maintain that during the race, but it would have a very, very difficult fight behind him with Get Owned and Zones. But some idiot, he has also broken the 41 second mark.
Yep. He's very happy now in the 40s. I mean, we did think that he was I thought he was going to be quick, but yeah, beating Zones and Ghetto. Granted, we're literally talking. I mean, Ghetto has already raised the bar. Look at that. He's already up to a 40.771, so big time from him. More and more people are coming to the line. I believe Danico, who has invalidated, so let's see what time he gets on the board anyway. 46.2, so obviously he backed out of that one. We have one of the Alpha Tauris. In fact, they're both coming into the pits. We have one of the Mercedes. Zones is about to start his hot lap, whereas Vania, he's P12 with a 41.943.
Yep, and the Mercedes are definitely doing the tow. Vania's right in front of him, so let's see how well this helps Zones out. But we know that, again, how good Zones is on his own without the tow, so let's see what he can do with a little bit of Mercedes magic.
Yeah, this is definitely going to need to be a Bottas-Hamilton level of teamwork and communication here. If Vanier can give a huge run, he's actually closed his wing there just to allow that extra bit of closing speed for Zones, who's clipped beautifully into the right-hander and the left. Very nicely through there for him. He's got to continue that throughout the entirety of the lap. And realistically, this is the hardest section of the circuit because you've got to get every bit of momentum carried through each corner because it's so important, especially going towards Puon. I think that's honestly probably the area where I'm losing the most time, is these guys are absolutely able to yeet it through.
Yeah, it's literally just a slight lift. It doesn't even touch the brake, just a slight lift and back on. But Hugo's another flat time. This is excellent. I'm loving this.
What is going on?
I think it's about to be beat, to be honest. Zones looks like he is on a monster of a lap.
But I don't know how, because he absolutely slid through Puon. He clipped the inside curb, and he literally power slid all the way through it, so...
yeah, but again, it's like it was literally just the slightest of lifts before slamming back down on the accelerator again, so like your back end will be a little bit unstable doing that, but wow, just the amount of pace that he's able to take into Puon and just in general around the circuit, and here he is, about to cross the line. Let's see what he's able to do.
Well, it's going to have to be a quick one. Oh, it's a 40.877. So he does improve, but not quite enough to beat his opponents that are ahead of him. So Patrick Sipos is literally 7,000ths of a second ahead of Zones. And a little bit further for Getern, who's a 10th ahead of him. And then 700ths of a second separates Hugo's and Getern. Hugo's has definitely had his Weetabix today.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on right now.
Where are we? What century is this?
There's so much speed right now. This is insane.
It is fantastic. I know the best part is we're at the calm before the storm. Most of the drivers, in fact, almost all of them, are in the pit lane, getting themselves ready for that final push. We've still got that little bit more to eke out there. Maybe a 10th or 2 there for Hugo's to bring himself that bit closer. And we're actually not that far away now from what we saw in esports level times. Like, that is absolutely... I think we saw 1:39.9, I think we saw, in esports. So yeah, to think that we're 8/10ths away from that is really quite insane.
Yeah, that's... Hugo's, I mean, I don't know what you done on your lap, but I mean,
teach me.
The thing that I think's most impressive about Hugo's is he does not have a single fastest sector. He just managed to nail each sector. Realistically, get on is fastest in sector 2 and 3, but Hugo's just managed to be just there or thereabouts with all the same fastest times, and that just allows him to get that extra, you know, extra half-10th there that he's in front of. So, what a good lap.
Problems at Mercedes. Zones in the pits with 2 minutes and 6 to go. Now, I know that there is a timing issue. I don't know exactly how much time we are ahead, but realistically, he needs to get in and out of the pits in the next sort of 30 seconds at most to be able to get himself back on for another hot lap. Now, we'll see whether or not he can achieve it. There are a few other people going out quite late as well, so maybe I'm a bit off with my timing there. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But people are out there getting themselves around the track. Yonti, the next to start a hot lap.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we probably are more in front than we realise because there are so many people that haven't left the pit yet. So, yeah, I would say it's probably going to be safe. As a bunch of guys are now just starting their laps.
Well, Zonzi's already on his way out, so it might actually be a-okay. There is... So this, honestly, I love how it's like... Every time I look at the radar and look at turn 1, you can see all the slower cars like waiting. It's kind of like the parents when they go to pick up their kids from school and they're stood there waiting for the child to come out, and then they're waiting to grab their hand and then off they go scooting down the street. And it's the same sort of position, although Hugo's didn't quite give the toe that he needs to his teammate again. Bit of a problem there. I think that's, whilst Hugo's has got the fastest lap right now, that is one of the things I would say he has to work on. I've been told we're about 40 seconds off of what the drivers are seeing, so we're about 40 seconds ahead of what they can see. Yep. So there is about 1 minute and 20 to go, and thereabouts.
And I just want to throw out that Getlin seems to have been doing all of his times without the toe, and it looks like he's about to do the same again, because Florian's on the opposite end of the track from him, as he's about to start his flyer. So, and it's something we've not really seen Mercedes ever really give each other the toe in any of the tracks. I don't know whether that's because they just find that it causes too many problems, or if they think, well, I don't really need that extra tenth, because he's just so fast. So let's see what he's about to do as he's about to start his flyer.
Yeah, Yonti has also come to... Well, it looks like he backed out of his last one and he's going again on this one. So 2 laps done on these softs is what we're looking at for him. But yeah, Geton, the man that you're talking about, being in our top 3 predictions for both of us. I think majority of chat agreed also that Geton is going to be in this top 3 somewhere. But that's before we saw the likes of Samidia, before we saw the likes of Hugo's and Patrick all chucking in these crazy lap times. Currently, Geton is sat P2, and he's not, like you said, he's not getting any toe. So Hugo's, who you know, it's quite uncharacteristic for him to be at the top of the grid. He's currently getting the toe from his teammate, and it looks like they've done it much better this time round. It looks like Hugo's is going to get a massive toe all the way down the Kemmel Straight, and somebody who's just opened his DRS there. Yep, there's Hugo's, and it's straight onto the hard braking zone. Gets it quite nicely through the right-hander and the left, and doesn't destabilize his car, and Vex it's up to P2.
That was a great lap there from Vexit. That's put him right where he needs to be, as he's now the first driver to reach the checker flag.
Now, C-Post cannot improve. He has, in fact, invalidated, so I don't... Maybe he's got enough time to get round and do it again, but he has got a red fuel warning light, which makes me think he is done and dusted. Dennis also can't improve his time. He's invalidated, so he's going to stay where he is. Geton, though, is next to get a lap time on the board, and he has not yet invalidated, but he is only just 7/100ths of a second behind our pole sitter. So, Geton then through the final 2 corners. Has he done a good enough lap to get himself in pole position? Only a few more meters to go as he crosses the line. He gets pole position. It's a provisional 140.604. But bear in mind, we still have Hugo's, who got a monstrous toe all the way down the Kemmel Straight. Yonti's going to come across. Oh, he's gone into the pit, so his lap is done and dusted. He's staying P9. But has Hugo's had enough of a toe to get himself back into pole position once more? He does not, but he does improve. He's closer to get owned, but that is just not enough.
Yeah, and Get Owned actually had his back end step out a little bit in no name, but it clearly did not cost him too much time, because that is an absolutely incredible lap time.
Oh! Zones!
It clearly cost Get Owned a little bit too much, because Zones pips him by 0.003 of a second.
That's insane. 0.003 of a second between the two of them is amazing. Absolutely incredible. Very well done there from Zones to secure himself pole position. It looks like no one can beat... Yeah, everybody's done their laps. So that is qualifying over. I ruled Zones out halfway through that qualifying. I didn't think he was going to be able to get it together. I am going to shut my mouth up from this moment forward. Zones, congratulations on pole position. Very well done to him. Geton in P2. Hugo's P3.
Yeah, so my prediction was correct if we just discount Hugo's from being... like completely blindsiding both of us. The lap from Hugo's really was an eye-opener for just the absolute strength of this field. That is an incredible time that you put in, and again, Zones and Get On just showing their class by just managing to pip what we considered something that was almost an unbeatable lap time. Yeah,
exactly. It's crazy. I mean, yes, there's a fair bit of teamwork that came into that. Obviously, Zones, I don't think Zones actually got any toe on that lap. I could be wrong, though. But anyway, the one thing I can promise you is he has secured that pole position. 0.003 of a second ahead of Geton to lock in the pole for this race. Geton P2, Hugo's P3, Vexit P4, Some Idiot P5, Patrick C-Post P6, Brownie P7, Top Tom P8 with Florian there in P9. Yonti rounding us out for the top 10 with Yolta getting best of the rest. Higgsy in P12, Copy in P13 and just taking us over that 1 second margin with Vania P14, Dennis 15th, Rainbow obviously serving his qualifying band, so he's in 16th place. And then Alex and Danica both could not get times on the board, will be starting in 17th and 18th place. I want to remind you all one more time, this is a circuit that requires very much to stay in that tow, very much to stay in that DRS train because it is so powerful on this circuit. So you may see a lot of desperation from some of the drivers who are feeling a little bit pressured trying to stay within it. But at the same time, you may see people who are feeling like they're being held back, going for a move down that Camel Straight, coming into Oslekum. They have to get it tidy on the inside if they want to get it done nice and easy. But this is going to be a monstrously great GP, and a full dry race means tyre strategy is critical.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's what do you do? For the people outside the top 10, they obviously have the choice of tyre. But what do you do? Do you try and run long, or do you try and follow the soft runners in front of you? It's such a long lap around here that if you are on tyres that are slightly too worn, you're going to feel that for nearly 2 minutes, and that can make you lose so much lap time.
Well, I mean, the thing to remember is it is pretty easy to overtake on the circuit, right? It's just most people wouldn't want to do it because of how powerful that train is and how easy it is for you to manage your tyres, etc., etc. I could just sit here all day talking about the same thing over and over again. But the point I want to make is the alternate strategy is very, very strong here, which you can see a lot of the drivers have actually chosen the medium compound tyre. I believe, I maybe need this confirming for me, but I believe this is one stop mediums softs if you do the alternate strategy. So bear that in mind, that could happen. On top of that, this is also a circuit where over the past times we've been here, I've seen a lot of safety cars here. In fact, I actually remember seeing Yonte on Tuesday, who was nowhere near the top 10 when he did the qualifying, come into the race, do the alternate strategy, and everything was going up. He was in P3 until he made a mistake and ran into the back of his teammate on the safety car restart. That cost him to get that. He could have got the win, truth be told.
Yeah, safety car will most likely come into effect as Higgsy's just disconnected, so hopefully he will be able to get back in. But yes, safety car will most likely come into effect. The thing is the timing of it. If it comes really within lap 1, then all the soft runners could get in, put on hard tyres, and go to the end, and then they now have the jump on those doing the alternate strategy. But however, if it comes kind of towards the end of the race, then the people who are running longer, they then get effectively a really cheap pit stop and can come in after the soft runners have already had to come in for their kind of standard pit stop. And as you say, as the tyre wear starts to affect people, there's a lot of areas in this track where it's easy to just go a little bit wide, run into someone as you're making a pass, clip a wall, debris, death, mayhem. It's all happening in Spa.
It is definitely happening in Spa, that's for sure. Now, guys and girls, we want to hear from you what your prediction is for the end of this GP. You saw how close it was in qualifying, and I imagine we're going to be seeing something pretty much the same here. Zones is going to be leading us away here at the start of this Grand Prix. Getund hunting him down, and realistically, that long run up towards all the way down the Camel Straight is very long, and that's going to be the major issue. But turn 1, we've seen carnage here in real life. We've seen carnage here in the F2s earlier. Are we going to see chaos and carnage here in the F1 races?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Right then, here we are. The lights are on at the Belgium GP now as we need to see the starts be clean and fast. And it's go time. It looks like Zone's got quite a nice start. Also the same sort of situation for Samidia, who's had a fantastic run coming down the inside. There's a Renault going for a move. Is that Brownie? He's stuck on the inside. Zone's actually fighting with Getund here as well. Getund has actually taken race lead. Hugo's on the back of them too. He's very much ready to go for anything that he can find. We've got yellow flags as we see at the very back there. Danico and Copy have been caught up with Higgsy. Virtual safety car is out.
Yep, and that's actually really good timing for Get Owned, because now he doesn't get attacked at the end of the straight from everyone with the slipstream, so that's worked out pretty well. It was literally right as he got to the top of Eau Rouge Radion, so no one's going to be trying to make any dive bombs on him, and that protects him for at least one lap. Now, he could maybe now get the gap that he needs so that no one's in his slipstream, but he needs to make sure that when this VSC ends, as it's doing right now, he goes away. Bombs it.
Who is that? Is that somebody going for a move down the inside of Vexit? Yes, it is. He's trying to get there with his teammate. He's also allowed Patrick C+ to get in there as well. Vexit has been robbed. He's actually trying to get side by side with Patrick through there. That is not something he can do quite easily. And as a result, he does fall down. You can see now Brownie all over his gearbox. Vexit is very much feeling the pressure as Brownie's going to look down the inside and take a very tight line. His back end is stepped. Oh, he catches it beautifully. But TomTom's now on his gearbox. And now it's just constant. This is what I'm saying. It's very much a train, a constant chain reaction of how this is going to go down. More mistakes happening. And now TomTom is ready to go on Brownie. Brownie's actually lost a lot of time here to Vexit. But Geton takes race lead, then gets the virtual safety car to help cement that. Gets a beautiful run. And some idiot jumps up Vexit, who loses out 2 places. What a start.
Yeah, this has got everything so far, hasn't it? And Vanya has managed to get himself into the top 10 as well. He's now P9, so he's had a really great start, and he just needs to keep that momentum going and try and get up there and, you know, help his teammate Zones and get some good points for Mercedes to catch up on that gap to McLaren.
Absolutely, but the train is very much still alive. We are now on lap 2. Everything seems to be going A-OK, apart from if your name is Copy or Danico, because both of those have had some serious issues. They're both into the pits. They are both going to get double stacked. However, remember, a safety car is quite likely on this circuit. So we may be seeing that happen as Vexit's going for a move here around the outside here of Patrick C+. This is a very difficult run to make, but C+ has gone deep into the corner, but he still holds on to that position. Vexit had to back out. He's getting desperate now to try and cling on to this battle for the race, well, race lead effectively, but some idiot is still holding down a very wide defensive lines here for him to keep Patrick C+ behind. But we are not yet on lap 3. That's when we're going to start to see the aggression turn up to 11, as everybody's going to start to feel a lot more lively as we come down that Camel Straight.
Yeah, and Danico, I think, has made a really poor call here for his pit. He obviously had to serve his 5-second penalty, because once you come into the pitch, you need to serve that penalty. So he was double stacked, had to serve a 5-second penalty, had to get a wing change, and now he's came out on soft tyres.
Yeah.
Even with a safety car, he is not getting back into this race.
But if you're Copy, this is actually not bad. He's gone on hards. Yes, he's 30 seconds off. Yes, he's going to definitely need a safety car to bring him back into this Grand Prix. But let's imagine in the world where we do get one, he can go quite nicely. Now, lap 1, turn 1 incident is going to be investigated after the race. Now, from the sounds of it, there are quite a fair few people that were involved in that. But from what I could see, Danico did get a 5-second time penalty for collision with Higgsy. Sorry, that's who we got for. Higgsy apparently has had some network issues. I've received a message from him to tell me that. So let the stewards decide, but they've said it'll be investigated after the race.
Right. Okay. It's good to keep an eye on that just in case. But yeah, there's nothing really that we can do about that 5 seconds if it was unwarranted. But we'll see what the stewards decide.
Yeah, and now the train is about to break. It's Hugo's who's currently sat right on that limit. 9/10 gap currently, and almost a full second. But he has to bring himself a bit closer. So you may see him burn that 49% ERS that he's got there. You can see him giving it a little bit of a squeeze. I mean, the top two are actually doing quite well. In fact, Get Owned is the best out of the 3 of them when it comes down to that ERS usage. He's kept himself very high in the high 70s, low 80s.
Yeah, and this is something that Getwood's really good at, that it surprises me that Zones isn't. Because, you know, we see how fast Zones is, but often towards the end of the race, he just has nothing left because his ERS is under 10%. And that's not a mistake that we really ever see from Get Owned. Get Owned's management of his ERS is incredible. Yeah. But yeah, like the front two, again, just showing just how good they are. Just about to break that 1 second margin, as you say. And Get Owned's doing it with no slipstream, with no DRS, and basically not using any of his ERS.
Yeah, that just goes to show like the caliber of driver that Get Owned actually is. You know, it's fantastic to see what he's capable of and how well he's performing today, but you know, there's a long way to go in this Grand Prix. We are only on lap 4 of 22, so there's still plenty of racing to get done and dusted, but Zones is still very close to the back of him. Hugo's did have to use quite a fair bit of his ERS there just to get himself back into that 1 second margin before he gets onto that home DRS straight. And again, here on the Camel, he is going to get it more. Now, It looks like Zones, who's unintentionally going to go for a move here. He turned everything off, but he's going to have to take race lead. But they are going to go side by side. They almost touch wheel to wheel, but they kept themselves clean. But this is fantastic news for Hugo's. It's given him the lifeline that he needed to pull him right back in a little bit. Granted, it's only been 2/10s, but if they continue fighting, that soon could be 3, maybe even less.
Yep. Yeah, he definitely helped out Hugo's a little bit there, as Copy's decided that he's had enough, potentially. Is that a retirement in the pits?
He's only left, he's not even retired. He may have just disconnected, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, for Brownie actually was very, very late. He was like several thousands off of getting out of the DRS zone right before the detection point. But the slipstream and the DRS up the Camels managed to allow him to just pull right back into Vexit and staying within roughly 7-8 tenths now. So that's managed to keep him within the train, but he was very close to slipping outside it. But Get Owned, you know, just through this sector 3, he just seems to pull out a little bit of a gap, which is really helping him defend it to the end of the Camel Straight.
Yeah, and that's the crucial bit. The Camel Straight is the main overtaking section on this circuit. Yeah, I guess you could use the DRS on the home straight to go for a move potentially on anybody, but realistically, if you're going to do that, you're also going to lose that position again once you come onto the Camel Straight, so don't expect to be seeing that happening very often. I believe the Williams are actually desynced with each other. I've just seen what looked like they were both inside of each other, but at the same time, they're still going strong in P3-4, and they've not had any issues. But Patrick Seapost, he is well within the DRS range here. He's having a little bit of network issues, rubber banding around just a little bit. He didn't actually burn that much ERS, but somebody is also very close to Hugo's. And oh, somebody's gone. He's gone right off the track. He's had to take the runoff area. He's going to have a rejoin. That's not the way to rejoin the circuit. More contact. Vex has been sent off into the gravel over towards the wall. The yellow flag in Sector 2. Are we going to see a safety car? But Vexit's race has just been destroyed.
Yep, and so is Sipo. Sipo's lost all of his wing, and he's been given a penalty for basically losing control of the car when he didn't have any wing to make that turn. So a very, very bad rejoin effectively from Samidia. He's not received any damage that I can see, so he's kind of lucked out in not getting a penalty and not getting any damage, but I imagine the stewards are going to be looking into that because unfortunately, there's no one really to blame there other than Samidia.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, you know, the heat of the moment kind of thing. You want to try and keep yourself as close as you can to the drivers up at the front of the field, but if you're going to have that sort of level of rejoin that causes you to have that major contact, then, yeah, you know, likelihood is the stewards are going to come down on him. We'll see. We'll wait to hear from them. They should be in touch very soon. However, as it stands, Geton is still your race leader with Zones there in P2. Hugo's now is P3. In fact, there you are. The stewards have been in touch. So the incident between Samidia, Seapost and Vexit is under investigation right now. So we'll see whether or not anything further happens. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, and during all that, Copy did DNF in turn 1, so I don't know how he's managed to hit a wall or anything there, unless it was, you know, kind of either deliberate or a glitch from the game. But that's him out of this race now completely, as Alex gets a 5-second penalty there for speeding into the pit lane.
Yeah, a few people getting a fair few penalties as well, which is not good. Patrick Seapost obviously still has that one that he got earlier. Like I say, the thing about this situation, especially with the benefit that we got from the RNL, is the stewards can actually, post-race, remove a penalty if it is deemed unfair. And then they will go, yep, okay, fair enough, we'll remove that, and then, you know, they can regain that time back. But not if it's one of those that you serve in the pit lane. If you actually serve it, then you will have to just take it that you've had it. So we're going to go back to our front 3. It is still Geton, Zones, and Hugo's. They are still pretty happy up there right now, although Hugo's is still on that limit. He's actually done a very good job to manage his ERS to keep him still in the 30s, but he's maybe being a bit too conservative. If he carries on losing that little bit more, he will lose that 1 second margin. He'll have 30% plus ERS, but is it going to have been worth it?
It's definitely not going to be worth it when you consider that two in front of them are sitting around the 80% constantly. Zones has really managed to kind of like get his ERS back up. He's now sitting at fully 100%. So obviously he'll burn a lot of that down the straight, even without activating the overtake button, because you know that's the way these cars are designed. But at the end of the day, Zones has taken heed upon my warnings of burning through too much ERS. And
just round by. There you go, easy peasy. Sorry to cut you off there.
no, that's all good. That was a very, as you say, very easy overtake there for Brownie. Don't know, somebody wasn't really trying to fight that one too much. He knew that the overspeed on Brownie was just too much for him to deal with.
Well, that, but also I think somebody is a very emotional driver. And by that I mean when he's having his highs, he's having the highest of highs. When he's having his lows, he's having the lowest of lows. And having, you know, that situation earlier, where from what I'm told, the contact that he had between him and Hugo's, in fact, these two have been in touch. Some idiot receives a 10-second time penalty for causing a collision with C-posts. So, yeah, that is a huge penalty. And this will, again, go back to what I'm kind of trying to get through to here is, because of that situation of the rejoin, even the contact alone will have mentally affected him. It'll put him in a negative mindset, and that's when he's going to start to shut down. It's now, this is the difference maker between the really good drivers and the good drivers. The really good drivers will be able to have this sort of stuff happen to them, reset their mentality whilst they're driving the car, and then go one more time. If you have... Oh, Geton is in the pits.
Yep. And probably exactly what he needs to do, because now Zones is not going to get the DRS along the Camel. And this allows Zones to just get in, get his tyres, and get back out, and then hopefully, if he's lucky, pick up the slipstream from his teammate. But it looks like he might just be a little bit too slow to be able to get that, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, you know, he was putting in some great times without having the slipstream, without the DRS, so he just needs to focus on himself now and set the fastest lap known to man to try and break that 1 second margin to Zones.
Yeah, 100%. It's hard. It's really hard to be in the situation these drivers are in. You know, you've got to give it everything, every single lap, because if you drop even just a slight bit, what becomes 1/10, 2/10 can actually still cost you in the long run, and you will fall out, especially if people go for the undercut, or in this case, the pit stop before you get protecting yourself from the undercut, I guess. In Geton's position, as Yolta getting time penalties. Time penalties are actually starting to come in thick and fast now. 3 seconds for Yolta, 3 seconds for Florian, same for Alex, same for Patrick, and same for Danico, although he also did serve a 5 second for contact with him and Sipos. Higgsy, sorry.
Yeah, so Danico's, you know, just kind of having a very lonely race now, basically, since lap 1. He's miles off anyone, really. Vanya there also getting a 3 second penalty, but I'm just watching just now to see, because Zones is actually set in purple sectors, so Geton's is set in purple sectors, so he is definitely getting that speed as Zones and Hugo's are now into the pits, which makes some idiot the kind of provisional lead as Brownies came in as well. So let's see how much of a gap that Geton can manage to get, as it looks like he's been setting the sector times that he needs.
It's going to be close, though, I think. I think this is going to be very close. They should be getting to turn 1 about the same time. There is Zones coming out of the pit lane. There's Geton coming out of it. You can see now Zones... Oh, he's actually just come out behind him. So kind of as is, but like you said, has Geton done enough to get himself a second ahead? The answer is no, but should be good news for Zones now. He will be able to sort of close in a little bit with the fact he's got DRS. But if you are Geton, there is a window for you here to dump everything to try and break that 1 second margin whilst you've got a higher than... Whilst you're on the higher side of that gap, then see what you can achieve.
Yeah, and, you know, definitely he's on the higher side just now, and he had about that 8/10, and, you know, if he'd just managed to, like, get a little bit... If he'd managed to get, you know, have Florian there to give him the DRS on the on his outlap, that would have been enough. But it was just, you know, a couple of seconds too far up the road for that to play into his hands. But there was the gap that he managed to get into, which means that at least it wasn't held up by anyone, and so it means he did resume effective race lead.
They are coming up to a bit of traffic though. That is Dennis ahead of them. No DRS all the way down this run up towards the bus stop chicane. So this is going to be a bit harder for Ghetto now. I don't think he's going to close in that quickly, realistically. He might be able to get it done on the home straight and then worry about that later. If he can put a car between him and Zones, that might benefit him coming on towards the Camel Straight, but realistically this is going to be 2 cars worth of tow that Zones can get. Although Dennis has had a bit of a poor exit there through the right-hander of the chicane. And now you can see DRS being available. Get on setting the new fastest lap at 144.905. Race leader is obviously Yolta for now, as the Williams of Samidia has finally pitted. Top Tom beats it straight off the bat. And now we'll see what Zones can do here. He's going to smell blood. I think he's going to dump a lot coming down this Camel Straight.
Yeah, and get owned as well the first time in this race that he's actually got DRS. So, a little bit of a lag spike seems to put Zones like a half-tenth back. That definitely dropped him. But get owned is there trying to make the move on Dennis. Dennis not. Oh, Dennis is defending this though. He wasn't really making the defense against get owned because he just had so much overspeed. But he's definitely not just letting Zones go.
Yeah, I think Zones just got a warning there as well for stepping out the outside. He's going down the inside into Rwaggy. This is such a difficult corner to get the inside maneuver locked in, but he has in fact done so. Although Dennis is still sticking his nose in. Dennis just loses the back end, and Zones has got free. But look, he's outside the 1 second margin.
1. That has done everything that Get Owned needed. The Zones needs to dump the remaining 40% that he has to get that 10th back and get within the DRS. He needs the DRS, but Get Owned will see that gap. He knows that he also needs to dump everything.
Dennis has spun. Dennis has spun in Sector 2, coming on towards Sector 3. He can't quite turn around because there's cars coming at him, which may end up triggering a safety car. Oh, he's trying to navigate himself back around again. Zones is right on that limit, look, of just getting... Oh, we are back underway. We have gone green once more. Zones is so close that there he is. He's back into it, but I don't think he got it in time for the DRS on the home straight. So he's going to have to maintain this coming through. We have again another spin. That is Dennis once more in the Stavlo 2, I believe that is. Having a bit of
those tires seem to be cooked.
Yeah, they definitely are. They've only just brought themselves back in under the 100 degrees.
Yeah, but yeah. Zones literally burned all of his ERS there, but now it's fine. He's within the margin, so he can start saving his ERS once more. So it was definitely a worthy sacrifice to get back into that DRS zone, because now he can sit, chill, and just regain his ERS. The opportunity for Get Owned there has gone.
Yeah. I mean, Get On did try his best as well. He also dumped a lot of his ERS. It just wasn't enough. He couldn't build enough time. Zones just seem to be that little bit better in these sort of conditions. But we'll see. We'll see what happens going forwards. However, there is a bit of a fight here for P5. We've got Top Tom leading this train between him, Brownie, and Samidia. Yonti, just a smidgen back off that. He's 1.3 away from getting into the DRS here. But again, with that big penalty being applied to Samidia, in fact, there's actually... Let's talk about that briefly before we get into any more scrapping. There has been some speculation that people feel 10 seconds was a bit too much. What's your opinion?
I mean, I didn't see the full instant. I didn't see what caused him to go off. So if there was anything before that was like, you know, kind of sent him off, then yeah, it might be a little bit too harsh. But from some idiot's point of view, you know, you knew that you were off track, trying to rejoin at racing speed like that into the racing line, it's always going to be a dangerous maneuver, regardless of whether there's kind of people around you. So for me, I think it's probably justified. He effectively, you know, took 2 people out of the race, and I know that will cut him up to, you know, to have done that. I do think it's probably justified. However, if this, you know, somebody disagrees, or you know, anyone really disagrees, they can put in an appeal and challenge it, because that's why we have kind of the stewards, and they can make the decision and have a discussion about it post race. But there's definitely. The good thing about the stewards is that they don't make any decisions like, oh, you need to serve like a kind of fake drive-through or anything.
Yeah.
They don't interfere with the race, so anything that the stewards decide during the race can be discussed and changed post-race once the drivers have a chance to defend themselves. So that is always open to them. At the moment, I would say 10 seconds is probably fair.
Yeah, I'm in the same mindset. I mean, realistically, in my opinion, it's irrelevant what sent him off. Because the issue isn't that he got sent off. I think that would have been appealable in itself to an extent had it been intentional. But from what I'm told, it looked like it was desync that sent him off. It's the rejoin that was the problem.
Yep.
He came in so hot, so hard, and at an angle that is really difficult to rejoin and keep yourself out of harm's way. That realistically, if that was real life, that would have probably ended up with someone being severely injured. So, yes, granted, we are in sim racing. I get that. As Yolta has finally decided 12 laps on the medium tyres is enough. But Zones is there still on the back of Get Earned. He's done a very good job of managing his ERS, but so has Get Earned. And this is my issue here. For me, I feel like Zones isn't applying enough pressure to Get Earned because he's waiting for that late game. If I was in Zone's position, I mean, there's probably a reason why he's not doing this, but I feel more pressure to Get Earned to try and make him burn that ERS. But because there is not enough pressure, Get Earned can actually just take his foot off the gas, effectively. He can just go to turn the wick up to about 8, effectively, and just carry on driving the laps that he's doing. We are seeing more spins. Yellow flag in Sector 3. That is, I believe, Alex Budd, as it is, as Danico is closing in more and more. Lap penalty for Top Tom there.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Zones there, I think the problem is that Get Owned has such a kind of good race mind and race brain that, you know, if you apply too much pressure, he's just going to let you go, because he knows that he can sit in like your toe and your slipstream and get everything he needs to go and then make a move in the final few laps. So you can't pressure him too hard or he'll let you go. But also not pressuring him at all means that he's sitting there with all the tools to play with. He's got all the ERS, he's got the tyre management, and you know, he's just sitting comfortably.
Oh, safety car. We've lost Dennis. That's into the corner with no name, and we have a full course safety car. Watch the pit lane light up now. We have only got 9 laps to go. Softs to the end is very doable. Are the race leaders going to do it? Well, Zones is, but Get Earned isn't. This could be race changing now. Zones is in. Hugo's is also in. Brownie's decided to stay out. Top Tom is in. Sumidia is staying out as well. Yonti is in. Vania will have to wait a little while to see if he decides to chuck himself in there. But this is huge for Yolta. He's only just pit. He's on the softs already. He will jump right the way up to sort of P4, maybe P5 territory. This is massive.
I think Zones has thrown away his race here. I mean, he's still P4, but now, once the race gets underway, there'll be 7 laps of proper racing. Realistically speaking, Get Owned's going to build up a gap to Brownie, based on the current pace that the drivers have shown during this race. And I think, realistically, it's going to take Zones too long to get past the guys in front. Not only that, but the guys behind him, who are also on the soft tyres, are going to be battling him. So, yeah. I think Zones has thrown away his race here.
Well, only time will tell, as we do have at least 2 laps of safety car. We'll see now whether or not this does in fact change anything. Now, usually the safety car will wait for the grid to completely bunch back up again. It may exclude 1 or 2 drivers if that is the case. However, Alex Budd and Danico are both coming into the pits, so they're going to be getting themselves back onto a brand new set of softs, more than likely, if they have any left. And then they're going to be taking these to the end of the Grand Prix and seeing where they can finish off. You do have Brownie, who's sat P2 right now, but he's one of the 3 drivers who didn't pit when the safety car was called, that's in with a chance of scoring big points here. Zones, Yolta, Hugo's, Top Tom, Yonti, and Vanier have all pit and gone to softs. The only person really that's in the top 10 that hasn't pit and gone to softs is Patrick Sipos, who's decided the mediums were the way to go.
Yeah, which is interesting. The softs will definitely make it.
Yeah, I think they will very easily make it. I don't even think they're going to be losing out too much when you come to the stage of this Grand Prix. I think, actually, we are looking at the soft runners being very, very quick, and I think Patrick may get a bit too... I mean, my worry is he's going to get desperate again. My worry is he's going to go for another sort of extra aggressive driving style like he did in Hungary, for example. Whether that was set up or whether it's just his natural driving style, I'm not sure. But if he does that once more, he's going to find himself in the same sort of situation he's kind of already in, getting penalties. He's on 6 seconds right now. The only other two people that are on that same sort of path with him is Florian and Alex Budd, both of which are outside of the points. It's such a hard way to drive that I don't see Patrick scoring big here today now.
No, I don't, and realistically speaking, even if he was on the softs, I don't see him scoring big. I think his issue now is the pack's too bunched up, it's too close to the end, and everyone's kind of sitting a bit too close in terms of penalties and things. I think realistically he's going to need to cut through the field at a rate of knots, and with how good the slipstream is and the tow is, I don't think it's possible for him. And this is the same reason I think Zones is in trouble. Yes, it's possible to overtake, but there's going to be so much action at this restart that I think he's going to struggle.
Yeah, without a doubt. Okay, well, we are now under the second and possibly the final lap of safety car. We will find out whether or not we are going racing again at the end of this lap when they reach the start of Sector 3. Now, if you look where the start of Sector 3 is, you can tell by the little white line at the very bottom of the circuit. That is a very far back compared to where the start line is. So, our race leader currently is Geturned, and he has a huge amount of track that he can build a massive gap, and he can choose at any point there to just go for it. Likelihood is he's going to go when no one expects it, which is probably going to be either right before he crosses the start line, so not out of the final corner, but a bit further on from that, or he's going to go just randomly after Blanchimont.
Yeah, and honestly, I think probably backing the pack up as much as possible is the way to go right now, because, you know, if he can get it so that Yalta's making a move on Zones, then Getwon's won this race with no hassles, no fight on his hands at all, because realistically speaking, so Getwon's probably going to build up himself a good couple of seconds, maybe 4 or 5 second gap to Zones by the time Zones clears the traffic, and trying to get that gap down and the laps remaining is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, and that's the key thing, isn't it? That's exactly what you're saying. The other thing you got to think about, though, is that the first 2 laps, there is no DRS. So there is purely an opportunity there for Zones to just get a fantastic exit and bomb it all the way down the Kemmel Straight. And, you know, without these guys having DRS means it should be relatively easy, or at least easier, to go for a move in towards Lake Umi. It's just making sure that you haven't made a mistake on the braking zone. I think we're going to see a bit of a scrappy Zones now for the next few laps. Yeah,
and to be honest, he's definitely as a driver who is capable of, you know, side-by-side racing and making battles and making moves and making decisions. I think the problem is just that he's got guys in front of him who are going to be slower than him, and guys behind him who are on the same tyre who are going to be making moves, who have the extra slipstream from the extra tows in the cars in front. So he's just in a very precarious situation, and unless he manages to get past Samidia and Brownie at the restart, like, you know, on that very first lap, he's in for a nightmare of an end to this race.
Yeah. No,
not only that, but being in the pack, potential damage, you know, someone chops your wing, it's... If he managed to get past the pack, then yeah, he's going to have a much easier time get owned due to the tyre difference. But otherwise, he might not even find himself on the podium.
Well, speaking of positions, let's have a look at the biggest winners and biggest losers. Yalta, as a result of the safety car, has gained massively. He's up 6 places from where he originally started and now sits comfortably in P5. And he's also on a brand spanking new set of softs, which should make him quite racy when it comes towards the end of this GP. Now, coming through into the final sector, we are going to be seeing this race go live once more, I believe. We'll wait for it. It's when P1, there it is. Safety car is in this lap. So, when it comes down to it, it's going to be Geton who needs to really build the pack right back up and then go for it whenever he feels as though he can catch people out. So I'm going to go on board with Brownie and just watch how Geton do. Oh, he's having a really big, some huge swerves there. And I have seen this in the past where coming into the final chicane, I've seen contact and that's been disastrous. Geton is going to go any second. I can feel it. He's just going to go right. Wait. Now. Oh, do it. Go. Just go.
No, I think he's going to wait until the bus stop.
Oh, it's gone.
Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, you were wrong there. Geton has decided it's time to go. Brownie didn't get caught out and not had any issues either. Somebody at P3 is going to sit cozy, but Zones is the one that we're worried about because he's the one who needs to get through this pack as quick as possible. Is he going to go for a Yeetus into P1? Into track 1, sorry? No, he's not. Oh, I had a little look down the inside, but he's not going to quite get it. He's going to have to get the exit, though. This is not the way to go 2x2. Coming up towards Rouge Radion, you definitely don't want that, but he's already burning his ERS. He's turned it off because he doesn't want to get right onto a gearbox as you come up the hill, but he's gone right back onto it again. Here we go, then the exit has to be clean. He's got a penalty. This is disastrous for his race, but he's going to get the move done on somebody regardless, and he should be able to keep himself in P3 unless somebody has just somehow got a miracle to yeet him back into P3 once more, and he hasn't. So Zones, yes, he gets the position taken in the first few corners, but he gets a 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him massively.
From the off-board, it didn't actually look like he cut the corner there, so that might be something that gets appealed, depending on exactly if he's got any evidence of it. But yeah, that's a disaster. Right now, dropping him off the podium. So he needs to now get Brownie in and get owned and try and get owned, make a mistake, or if he thinks he's got the pace to build up a 3-second lead, then he needs to do that, but he needs to do it right now. He's only got a few laps to go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the gap is closing in quite nicely. Yolt's just got himself another penalty as well, so that's not going to help his cause, but look at Zones. Zones is very much closing in on Brownie, and Brownie's on that limit of the DRS. I mean, he's burning a fair bit now to close himself back in again, because he can see there's an opportunity here for a podium to fall onto his lap, but if Zones can get right back into this, then he should absolutely give it the full beans.
Yeah, and DRS obviously is not available for another lap. Oh, Brownie's back in, steps out massively there, and that's going to allow Zones to slip on through. This is exactly what Zones needs, but is Brownie going to fight him?
I don't think he can yet. He might fight him on the... Oh, we've actually had... Is that Florian? Florian has DNF'd. Florian has lost it coming through Blanchimont, and he's actually DNF'd off the track. We haven't yet got a safety car. His car is still there. Likelihood is we're not going to get one. But that could easily really sway things in the championship, especially with how well Williams have been performing. And right now, they're P4-5. Obviously, before penalties are taken into account, both in-game and from stewards. But still, this is massive for them to keep getting these high point scoring positions. Zones, though... I'm waiting for the interval to refresh on the left-hand side, but I think it's safe to say he's kept himself in with a shot of getting owned. The only thing he has to worry about is that 3-second penalty.
Yep, so I don't have the in-game one either, but I do have the telemetry one, and he is 6/10 behind. So yeah. He's definitely within the margin, but how do you go about this? Do you try and get owned to make a mistake to get him a penalty, or do you try and disappear in the distance? Because realistically speaking, some idiot's still there without a penalty. So, even if you get on to make a mistake, some idiot could then win this race. So he's probably got to just try and disappear into the distance. But the difficulty with that is we've seen how strong Get Owned is, and right now, if he makes the move, DRS is about to become enabled, and that just allows Get On to sit within your gearbox and just follow you through, and then take this win from having no penalties.
So here's how I see Zones getting out of this. I see him going for a move here on the Camel Straight to close in and go for an actual overtake as well there. Utilize the grippier softs whilst they're in the young age of life to help him get through Sector 2 and 3 and build up as much of a gap as physically possible. But at the same time, if he needs to fight Get Owned where possible that will make Get Owned feel the pressure and make mistakes. Zun sees the same sort of situation and he's going for it. This is going to be crucial, and he's closing in nicely. He's got the position locked in, but he has to get the tight line through Lei Kum, and I think he's... Yep, the softs are helping him through that, not a problem. But here's where he has to push. And look at the ERS difference. Safety car. It's a virtual safety car. But we have another safety car as Vexit has crashed and retired. Let's see if we can see him. He's all the way over there on the left-hand side. That looks... I don't want to say it.
This VSC actually kind of helps Zones a little bit, because realistically speaking, from a purely ERS standpoint, he could not get that gap out, because Get1's sitting there in 85% and Zone's on 25%. This VSC, he should really be just kind of like keeping tapping the brakes and trying to get the ERS back up. Try and farm it a little bit, because right now he's not going to be able to make the gap. Get1's got all the tools to stay within that kind of 3-second margin.
Get-On is done and dusted. A drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. We thought Zones was losing this race when due to his 3-second penalty, and Get-On has just shot himself in both feet.
That is unreal. Honestly, if I was in Get-On's position right now, I wouldn't serve that. I would just finish the race and try and stay within that 3-second margin, and then argue with the stewards that should be removed.
I don't think he can.
This is the problem. He's got 3 laps, and there's 4 laps to go from when the penalty was applied. So he's going to get disqualified if he does that. That's wow. That has turned this race on its head.
But honestly, I mean, unless it was really marginal, which I don't think it is, but Get-On is feeling fighty. He's going to try and cause some issues for Zone somewhere. I mean, realistically, your head is scrambling right now, trying to figure out a solution. How do I get some points, get anything out of this race now? A drive-through penalty after a safety car that happened not that long ago, where the pack are still so close together. I mean, the Renault boys have just swapped places. Get-On is going to lose literally every point he could have achieved in this race.
Yeah, he is. Realistically speaking, he comes out dead last.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Pretty much.
I think I know Get-On's strategy here. Stay out in front of Zones, get disqualified, and then argue with the stewards that was a bullshit penalty.
But how can you argue it though? That's what I don't understand. Because I mean, in fairness, it is pretty accurate when it comes to speeding under the safety car.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there'll be some some evidence that he can show, but realistically he just needs to stay in front and get disqualified, because either way he's getting no points. He cannot get any points right now, so he might as well stay out, get disqualified, and then pick the fight with the stewards, because he was like, well look, I was winning this race, I won on track until my disqualification, there was only 1 lap to go, he was not going to get a 3-second margin over me on that time, so give me my win.
But he can't. That's the thing. I physically don't see, unless there's a very... I mean, obviously we need to see from his POV what sort of evidence he could provide, if he could yet provide any at all, as Yonti and Steepos having a little bit of a scrap of their own. They're going to go drag racing all the way up towards El Rouge Radion. Let's see, Patrick has got himself ahead up in a P7. But yeah, just go back to... I don't understand how anybody could lose that, though. I don't understand how you could potentially have that issue. And it not be your fault. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all on him.
I'm not...
Wait, Top Tom and Brownie, they're having a bit of a scrap of their own. It looks like Top Tom's got himself up into P5. They were going side by side throughout the entirety of Lei Kum, but it has brought themselves back into this situation. P5 for Top Tom, P6 for Brownie. I don't understand where Brownie's pace has just suddenly disappeared. I guess maybe it's the 11 lap-old mediums that he's currently on. But some idiot who has a 10-second penalty given to him by the stewards is up there right now in P3, very likely to take P2 physically on track.
Yeah, it's very likely to take it. But going back to the get-owned incident, I mean, realistically speaking, he is not going to get any points if he serves his drive-through anyway. So he might as well take the DQ and then argue it. Like, regardless, he's getting no points, so he needs to at least try and argue his case.
Oh no, Patrick, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to Brownie. He's going to get onto the curb. Oh, they had a little bit of a scare there between the two of them. You know if you're Brownie, it's a definite cut, Brownie. And he's going around the outside in towards the bus stop chicane. He's locked that one in. Patrick Seapost. What a fantastic outside overtake there.
Yep, and Get Owned is serving his drive-through. So either he doesn't feel that the game is wrong, or he just doesn't want to get the DQ. He has served his drive-through and is going to come out pretty much dead last, but Brownie has came into the pits there, also serving a drive-through, which I didn't see come up on the screen.
Oh, I didn't know either.
So
interesting. I also want to point out, well, I want to point out, it's been pointed out to me, thank you, Ravenduck, Yonti has 0 seconds of penalties.
Yep.
There are 2 people ahead of him that have 6 seconds. Everyone else ahead of him have 3. Bear in mind as well, if the steward penalty for some idiot stays true, Yonti will jump 3, maybe 4 places. But if he jumps 3, that's a podium.
Yep, he is currently 7 seconds off the lead. So that puts him in a very tasty position.
This is fantastic for Yonti, considering that we haven't seen him score huge points in a very long time. And in terms of the Haas Championship, I think they're second to last, maybe third actually. This is really good stuff for Yonti. I would love to see him secure this in. And I've just seen Patrick getting a purple Sector 2, so maybe we're going to be seeing a new fastest lap for him. This is also good for AlphaTauri, because they are definitely fighting along with Alfa Romeo and Haas at the bottom 3 of the Constructors' Championship. So, I mean, even Yonti getting a nice podium here would actually help him in his drivers, because he's behind Yolta, remember. He's P12. He needs to get into the top 10 in order to secure himself a spot for next season. Otherwise, he's going to have to fight for it.
Yonti P3.
I didn't realize that was last. I was too busy yapping. I didn't realize. Yeah, Yonti getting P3, a huge set of points for him. Zerns has locked it in. Samidia is P2 provisionally. The stewards will, of course, have to apply that 10-second penalty unless it is appealed and removed. But that was such a crazy GP.
Yeah, that was insane, and you know, it feels like a win was robbed from Get Owned, but at the same time, I don't know the exact times and what shenanigans he was up to under the safety car. So he done well to get back in and still get P8 and get some points. But yeah, what a drive from Yonti. You know, keeping it nice and clean and getting himself back up there. That safety car at the end allowed him to put back the softs, as a lot of drivers did, and he just kept his nose clean and managed to move up. Somebody obviously on the podium there as well, but will most likely drop down once his 10-second penalty is applied, if that does not get appealed, which, to be honest, would be difficult to do so.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have a quick rundown now of the drivers, and for the first time for the first time I think ever, we're gonna have an interview with Yonti. I cannot wait for that. Here's the thing: if that penalty for some idiot stays, Yonti goes P2. Bear that in mind. That is huge for him. But Zerns gets the race win and the fastest lap, so maximum points achieved for him. He also got qualified on pole position, so you know he gets the whole thing. Everything's all his. Fantastic job. Some idiot P2 temporarily. We'll see whether or not that penalty remains when the stewards review with the drivers, if they should appeal it. I'm being told that they are going to appeal it, so we'll see what happens. Yonti P3 for now, depending on some idiot's appeal. Top Tom P4, Yolta P5, Patrick Seapost P6, Danico P7, Getone P8, Vania P9, with Hugo's getting the final point. Brownie in best of the rest in P11, Alex Bird P12, Higgs P13, Vexit 14th. The DNFers are Vexit, Florian, Dennis, Rainbow, and Copy. Bear in mind, Danico actually had a collision lap 1, turn 1. And as a result, had to serve a 5-second penalty and still recovered to get himself a nice P7. So very good job to him. It leads me to the final question, though, for you. Who is your driver of the day?
To be honest, I think it has to be Yonti. He kept it clean, and it had a great race. commiserations to get owned up until the final few laps. He had kept it very clean, had no penalties, was having no issues, was very dominating in the race. But that one mistake just massively cost him, and so in that regard, I think it needs to go to Yonte. Special mention as well, as you say, to Danny Cole, because he actually had 3 pit stops. He put on 3 different sets of soft tyres. He
Well,
pit
4
for his usual.
technically.
Yeah, he had the medium tyres, and then it had the 3 at the end. 3 different sets at the end, I believe. So yeah, from what looked like an absolute mountain to climb, P7. So good job.
Yeah, he definitely got his hiking boots out for that one, didn't he? Fair play to him for that. But don't go anywhere. We are going to get to hear from the top 3 drivers in just a uno momento. Let me quickly go and drag in what is current. We'll also have an interview with some idiot if he's up for it, because I would very much like to hear how that race went down for him and what he feels happened on that incident. But let's hear from the lad himself, Mr. P3 Yonte. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Normally, when we're in the commentary room together, it's because we're commentating together. And this time, we're in the commentary room together because you've secured at least a P3.
Yes, I'm very happy right now, and I know the situation as it is. It might change still, but P3 already is absolutely fantastic, I think.
So, obviously, from your perspective, the race was a very strange one. The safety car came out. Was you celebrating?
Not really. Not really. I didn't want it to come out. That forced me to make the decision of staying out or pitting. Either way, not sure which one was the right call. Might have ended up the same way if I would have stayed out. But I decided to get in for the softs, and people ahead of me were getting penalties, which Nooser kept me updated about. So yeah, I mainly just wanted to stick behind the train and not do any mistakes. I was 1 warning away from a penalty of my own as well. So for basically the last 10 laps, so I had to try and keep it clean that way. And unfortunately, the train was held up by Brownie, I believe it was, for a bit when I think he was helping his teammate there. So that pushed us further back. So there was no chance for more via penalties for now.
Well, like I say, it's P3 provisionally. We are waiting later to see if the stewards will stay firm with that 10-second penalty. But when it, as it stands, you have got P2 locked in due to that 10-second penalty. Whether or not it gets removed later or at least reduced, I don't know. But even if it gets a 5, you still jumped him. So, realistically, a P2 is pretty much in your pocket. So massive points for both you and your team. Now that, I believe, actually jumps you ahead of your turn. I think it actually puts you P10, which means currently you'll have an invitation to next season. Is that something that you're fighting for to try and lock in?
That's been my goal the last 3 seasons, to just finish in the top 10, so I don't have to go through the ordeal of qualifying. But yeah, I will certainly try.
Well, congratulations on a huge point scoring position, whether it be P2 or P3. It's still been a fantastic race to watch, and one of the only. You also, by the way, got the our driver of the day, so well done to you for that. Congratulations!
Fantastic, thank you.
Happy days all around. Right, next week I want to talk about that because I believe it's Monza, if my memory serves me well. Is that a track you're good at? I mean, it's hard to be bad at Monza, I guess, but.
Yeah, I suppose historically, I haven't done very well there, but also I will not score any points there next week because I won't be here, sadly.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, never mind then. I guess we'll have to see what your teammate can do, eh?
Same question, but about Singapore then.
Yeah, actually.
Singapore, I actually like the track. I hope I can do well there.
Well, congratulations on securing P2 or P3, whatever it is, and well done overall for your performance and keeping it clean on the track. And I look forward to seeing you when you do come back in 2 weeks' time racing around Singapore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's talk to the man who's going to be feeling both happy and frustrated. And we'll also try and hear about the elephant in the room. Let's first of all welcome Mr. Samidia. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Not very good.
And we'll get straight into it because I think we know why. I just want to hear from your perspective what happened.
C post was completely desync for me. I'm uploading a clip right now of my view of it. Actually, let me scratch what I just said there. I am sorry for Vexit and C post for what was going on there. However, there was a lot of desync I could see from C post. The rejoin, I was just completely sideways. I have my clip uploaded now. I'm about to post it in race control, but I don't want to do that. That's not obviously. I'm not trying to end people's races. I was basically out of control going through Lake Home on the runoff, trying to chase it, trying to get some break in it. If I break full, I'm just going to literally slide into both of them and wipe them out, 100% guaranteed. That's why it's very difficult to break when you're basically sliding out of control, because it just makes you completely a missile at that rate.
Yeah.
Rest of the race just restart, or the safety car stayed out because I had the best tires of the mediums, so I just decided let's use the tires, get the track position. If I go backwards, I go backwards. Then 3 people got drive-throughs. I don't know, for the VSC. I don't know how. I don't know why. The game's a mess. Let's put it that way. Let's chalk it down to that. And then I think I got a double warning on my corner cut. I'm almost certain of it. And then just wrote it out. I knew I had the 10 seconds hanging over my head, but it's just tire race was a mess. Usually I'm happy if I get a good result, but this is just complete chaos.
I think the other problem you've got is, the penalty currently as it stands, before the review, it was going to drop you pretty hard. So, even though you're physically P2 right now, that penalty being applied, I guess that's why you can't really celebrate necessarily, because, the future is unknown to an extent. But, I mean, regardless, the thing you got to take away from this was, in terms of your actual, apart from that one part of the race, everything else was done really pretty solid. Yes, you got a penalty for corner cuts in a little bit as well. But other than that, you had the pace. You looked really, really good. Even in the qualifying, you looked really dead set on securing some huge points. And even the strategy kind of played to your favor as well.
Yeah, I mean, just tried something different. I mean, like I said, I knew I had the best mediums. So I just tried and hung on and see where it would take me. I knew track position. Was going to be very vital in the closing stages, because it was very difficult to pass, even with DRS down, Camel Straight and so on. So I just hung on with what I had, and we'll see what happens. I don't know how this is going to wind out. I don't know how it's going to finish exactly, but yeah, disappointing to have it go like it has.
Well, let's put this race behind us and let's talk about next week. So next week is Monza. Is that a track you're good at?
We're going to see what happens. I've got something I feel a little bit more confident in, and see what happens. Like I said, I wish I could predict the future. That'd be incredible. That'd be an incredible skill. I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. I'd probably be somewhere else on this planet, but we'll see what happens. All I can say, because I need to run through it more thoroughly. I need to do some testing, just see where it's at.
Well, result aside, congratulations on a really strong performance. I mean, I'm going to say well done on the P2 temporarily, I guess, until we see what happens.
We'll see what happens on that.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, I look forward to seeing what you can perform in Monza next week.
Thank you.
Now, let's hear it from the man. Oh, is he even around? I'm going to message him. Let's find out if I can grab him. Has he gone? He's gone offline already. This guy has no time to disappear. That's it. Zones has already disappeared offline. So he's clearly a bit busy. We're not going to hear from him today. However, that is it for the Rwagnation Grand Prix then here in Belgium. It's been an absolute blast to commentate. And also massive thank you to you, Mr. Badger, for being alongside me. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure being in the commentary box with you, my little Martin Brundle, Paul Loresta. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Next week we do have Monza, so stay tuned for that. We'll see you 7 p.m. UK time on Saturday.